Welcome back everyone, it is Mike from ManaHoarders. In this video we will bring you a commander deck tech for an Orzhov commander, Liesa, Shroud of Dusk. You can cast Liesa for 2 white and a black. She is a 5/5 legendary angel with flying and lifelink. Instead of paying the commander tax, you can pay 2 life instead. Also, whenever a player casts a spell, they will lose 2 life. The final price for this build came in at $97.42. This does include the price of our commander and all of our lands, though do bear in mind some of these prices will vary greatly depending on the quality of the cards you purchase, the vendor you use, and a variety of other factors. In terms of power level, I would rate this deck around a 6 out of 10 on the power scale. With Liesa's main ability, we're going to be losing life every time we cast spells. That means we want to have life gain as the backbone of this deck. On the flip side of that is what we are calling life drain. We have plenty of cards that will take away our opponent's life totals, add to ours, and put us in a very strong position late in the game. First up are our artifacts. Bantu's Monument make our black creatures cost 1 less, and whenever we cast a creature spell, each opponent loses 1 and we gain 1. Gate to the Afterlife. Whenever a non-token creature we control dies, we can gain 1, draw a card, and discard a card. Norn's Annex, creatures can't attack us or planeswalkers we control unless their controllers pay a white or 2 life for each of those creatures. Oketra's Monument make our white creatures cost 1 less, and whenever we cast a creature spell, we'll create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. Orzhov's Signet can give us a white and a black, and Soul Ring will tap to add 2 colorless mana. Moving on to our creatures, we do have 2 legends helping out our commander. Combal, Console of Allocation. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, they will lose 2 and we will gain 2. And Veto, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. Whenever we gain life, target opponent loses that much life. He can also pay 3 and 2 black to give creatures we control lifelink until end of turn. And for the rest of our creatures, the Johnny's Pridemate gets a 1/1 counter every time we gain life. Archfiend of Depravity, at the beginning of each opponent's end step, the player chooses up to 2 creatures he or she controls and sacks the rest. Archon of Absolution has protection from white, and creatures can't attack us or planeswalkers we control unless their controller pays 1 for each of them. Bloodthirsty Aerialist will also get a 1/1 counter whenever we gain life. Cliffhaven Vampire, whenever we gain life, each opponent will lose 1. Corpse Knight, whenever a creature ETBs under our control, each opponent will lose 1. Cruel Celebrant, whenever Cruel Celebrant or another creature or planeswalker we control dies, each opponent loses 1 and we will gain 1. Drana's Emissary, at the beginning of our upkeep, each opponent loses 1 and we gain 1. Dread Presence, whenever a swamp enters under our control, we can choose 1. Draw a card and lose a life, or deal 2 damage to any target and gain 2 life. Epicure of Blood, whenever we gain life, each opponent loses 1. Good old Mr. Gary, whenever he enters, each opponent loses X life, where X is our devotion to black, and then we gain life equal to the life lost this way. Healer's Hawk, for 1 white mana, we get a 1/1 flyer with lifelink. Indulging Patrician has flying lifelink, and at the beginning of our end step, if we gain 3 or more life, each opponent will lose 3 life. Kinjali's Sunwing makes it so creatures our opponents control enter tapped. Marauding Blight Priest, whenever we gain life, each opponent will lose 1. Revelark, whenever it leaves the battlefield, we can return up to 2 target creatures with power 2 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. Scholar of Athreos, for 2 and a black, we can make each opponent lose 1 and we will gain life equal to the life lost this way. Serene Steward, whenever we gain life, we can pay a white, and if we do, we can put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Silver Smoked Ghoul. At the beginning of our end step, if we gain 3 or more life, we can return it from our graveyard to the battlefield tapped. We can also pay 1 in the black, sacrifice it to draw a card. One of my personal favorites, Soul Warden. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, we will gain a life. That includes our creatures and our opponent's creatures. Souls of the Faultless. Whenever it is dealt combat damage, we will gain that much life, and the attacking player will lose that much life. Syndic of Tithes gives us Extort. Whenever we cast a spell, we can pay a white or a black. If we do, each opponent loses 1 and we gain that much life. That was the same idea for including Thrall Parasite to give us another Extort outlet. And Tithe Drinker also has lifelink in Extort. Vizkopa Guildmage, we can give target creature lifelink until end of turn. We can also pay 1, a white and a black. Whenever we gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life. Wall of Essence has Defender. Whenever it's dealt combat damage, we can gain that much life. Wall of Hope does much the same. Whenever it's dealt combat damage, we gain that much life as well. Moving on to our enchantments, Ashes of the Abhorrent. Players can't cast spells from graveyards or activate abilities of cards in graveyards, and whenever a creature dies, we'll gain 1. Authority of Consuls. Creatures our opponent's control enter tapped. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, we can gain 1. Blind Obedience also has Extort, and artifacts and creatures our opponent's control enter tapped. Dawn of Hope, whenever we gain life, we can pay 2 to draw a card. It can also create 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. Ghostly Prison makes it so our opponents have to pay 2 for each creature attacking us. Light of Promise, whenever we gain life, the enchanted creature will get a 1/1 counter for the amount of life we gained this way. Palace Siege, whenever it enters, we can choose Khans or Dragons. If we choose Khans at the beginning of our upkeep, we can return target creature card from our graveyard to our hand. If we choose Dragons at the beginning of our upkeep, each opponent loses 2 and we gain 2. Shadows of the Past, whenever a creature dies, we can scry 1. We can also pay 4 in a black. Each opponent loses 2 life and we gain 2 life. Sphere of Safety makes it so creatures can't attack us or planeswalkers we control unless their controllers pay X, where X is the amount of enchantments we control. Sunbond, whenever we gain life, the enchanted creature will get that many 1/1 counters on it. Trespasser's Curse. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under the enchanted player's control, that player loses 1 and we gain 1. A perfect answer for any sort of large token decks. We will be including one Planeswalker in this build, Sorin Markov. We included him mostly for his -3 ability to put target opponent's life total at 10. This means if we have our commander out, it puts that opponent in a very compromising position. For every spell that they cast, puts them that much closer to 0. Moving on to our instance, we have Angel Song. It can prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn. Batwing Broom. It can prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn if a white mana was spent to cast it. If a black mana was spent to cast it, it makes so each player loses 1 life for each attacking creature he or she controls. Cast Down can destroy target non-legendary creature. Ceasefire makes it so target player can't play creature spells this turn and we can draw 1. Despark can exile target permanent with converted mana cost 4 or greater. Doomblade can destroy target non-black creature. Eat to Extinction can exile target creature or planeswalker. Faith's Reward, we can return to the battlefield all permanent cards in our graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. Holy Day can prevent all combat damage will be dealt this turn. Make a Stand gives our creatures +1/+0 and indestructible till end of turn. Rootboard Defenses, we can populate and then our creatures will also gain indestructible. Suffer the Past, we can exile X target cards from target player's graveyard. For each card exiled this way, that player loses 1 and we gain 1. For our sorceries, Bond of Discipline, we can tap all creatures our opponents control and creatures we control gain lifelink until end of turn. We have Dusk and Dawn. Dusk can destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. Dawn can return all creature cards with power 2 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. Epic Downfall can exile target creature with converted mana cost 3 or greater. Fumigate can destroy all creatures and we will gain 1 life for each creature destroyed this way. Kaya's Wrath destroys all creatures and we gain 1 life equal to the number of creatures we control that were destroyed. And last but not least is our mana base. We are keeping things very basic with 18 basic swamps and 17 basic plains. And just like that, we reached the end of another Commander Deck Tech. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, tell your friends about us, and leave a comment down below. Let us know what commanders you would like to see us build around in the future. We really appreciate the support.